Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. How are you today? I hope you're having a wonderful day. Let me turn down my phone. I heard it pop just as I was coming on. Excuse me. I hope you're having a great day today. This is Mike Cook coming to you live from Central Missouri. It's approximately 8:30 a.m. on 3/12/2021. Yesterday, I said 11/3/2021, and people were commenting as I went back and read it. I was supposed to be 3/11. I didn't even realize I said that. Somebody said, well, he's really dyslexic. And I am. I'm so dyslexic, I get zeros backwards. It's terrible. And that was a dyslexic moment because I didn't even realize I said it. I was like, what are they talking about? Hey, you got to have fun with yourself. Who can you have fun with? So I'm leaving my chat up today. I don't have a bunch of stuff loaded. And here's why. Because just as I got here this morning, the internet guys are here and they're hooking stuff up. So if you hear drilling and banging and who knows what else while I'm live, just ignore it because that's a good thing. So hopefully by the end of the day, because I have some really cool videos and all kinds of stuff I'd love to share with y'all, but can't do it because it don't work. Anyways, but I got some good stuff. And by the way, if you want to know about some of the good stuff that I have, if you go on over to my Telegraph page and follow it, I load most of that stuff on into there as I'm finding things, and a lot of stuff that don't make it to the show. And look at it right now. It's telling me my internet is slow. Oh, these suckers. Not for long, buddy. So anyways, so also follow me on the Rumbles. That's my that's Mike Patriot over there, Patriot Mike Cook over there on Rumbles. Follow me on the YouTubes. Let's look for I got that A10 on there. Love the A10. Love the A10. You know, they fly around here from Whiteman Air Force Base all the time. You can always tell the sound of an A10. There's nothing like those of you, you know who I'm talking about. If you've been out to NDC in Fort Irwin in California, went out there and played G.I. Joe in the desert, the sound of the A10 rolling through the canyons. You know what I'm talking about, right? Anyways, so I hope you guys are having a wonderful day today. Make sure you share these videos. Facebook is squashing me. YouTube is squashing me. They don't like the message that I have because it goes against their message. It doesn't make any sense. I mean, just straight business-wise. If you got a guy who can generate, right now I'm not, but in the past I have generated 40,000 views. Why would you not, even if you didn't monetize me, why would you not put commercials on that and make money for yourself and like promote it, send it out there? If you got a guy that can create an audience, why not promote it on your platform and make money? That's where I'm about. I mean, like, heck yeah, if I got a guy that was totally opposing me and like I had something to do with it, I'd push him out there. Let's make some money, right? I mean, that's what America's all about, ain't it? But I guess not today. We don't care about money because we're communists now, hence the flag. Anyways, so let's see. So what's going on? What's going on in your life? What's going on in mine? I had some stuff that I was going to put on here, but I decided I was just going to wait till I had good internet to do it right. But I'll tell you what I did do. Every morning I get up and I do my little routine. And, you know, a lot of people, they like to study the Bible with study guides, And, my church say, well, you read a little in the New Testament, and a little in the Old Testament, a little bit in the Psalms, and the next thing you know, you read the whole thing, right? I get it. Everybody does differently, right? Or you get these little devotionals, or you got all kinds of ways to do it. However you do it is fine with me. I don't really care. But what I do, because it works for me, is I get up in the morning and I read this page and that page. And I start there at the beginning when it says in the beginning, and I read all the way through till it says, if you alter the words in this book, or if you take away from these words in the book, that part right there, the last two paragraphs, from there to there. And then when I get to there, I just kind of close it and open it and start over. And I've been doing this for years and years and years. And I've read it through, I don't know how many times. And I'm not bragging, I'm just saying. So right now I'm in Judges. And I get to Judges and I'm reading in Judges 6, which is about Gideon. And I noticed some parallels here with our times, and I thought it was quite interesting. So I'm gonna summarize some of it, but I'm gonna read some of it too. So bear with me. Do the best I can here. I'm not a preacher or a teacher. I never went to college. I just know what I know, and that's not a lot, but I'll share it with you. How's that? So anyways, this says, the angel of the Lord came and sat down. Bear with me because I'm bad with English names, alone these names. Sat down on the Ophrah, I think it is, that belonged to Joasah. I'm not even going to say the next one. It's Abazarite or something. Anyways, It's one of the tribes, one of the groups, one of the families, whatever. There was his son Gideon, and he was threshing wheat in a winepress to keep it from the Midianites. At this time, see, in Judges, the Israelites, a judge would rise, they'd beat off all the bad guys. The Israelites for a generation would follow God and to worship God and do what God wants, and everything's at peace. Then the judge dies, and then the next generation forgets all about it, does all the horrible things that God doesn't like, and God oppresses them, rises up one of their enemies. Right now, the enemy is the Midianites. And the angel of the Lord appeared to Gideon and said, "The Lord is with you, mighty warrior." And now listen to this part, right? This part really got to me. He said, "Pardon me, my Lord," Gideon replied, "but if the Lord is with us, why has all this happened to us? Why have we lost the election?" Hey, I hope you have a steaming hot cup of coffee with you. I got mine. He says, "Pardon me, Lord, but if the Lord is with us, why have we lost this election? Why do we have this Trader Joe in the White House? Why is everything going wrong? Why did you get rid of the guy we liked? You know, we all voted for him. We all know that that's what happened. We know this election was borrowed, and that these people spit in your eye, God. They reject you in your conventions. They reject you in the House. They worship a God that's not you. Why are you doing this?" So anyways, let me start over. "Pardon me, Lord," Gideon replied, "but if the Lord is with us, why has all this happened to us? Where is all his wonders that he told that our ancestors told us about when they said, did not the Lord bring us out of Egypt? But now the Lord has abandoned us and given us to the hands of the Midians." Doesn't that sound familiar? Doesn't that seem like that's where we are right now? And the Lord turned to him and said, "Go in the strength you have and save Israel out of the hands of Midian's hands. Am I not sending you? Am I not sending you?" The Lord says, "I will save you out of these communist Democrats. Am I not sending you?" I don't know. I just found a parallel there, and I thought, man, isn't that just where we are right now? Well, okay. That same night, the Lord said to him, "Take the second bull from your father's herd." The second bull. God always wants the first. Why the second? I think there's something to that. I think they had dedicated, the first bull was dedicated to Baal. That's why he said the second herd. "The one that's 7 years old, tear down your father's altar to Baal, cut down the Asherah." I think that's how you say it, Asherah, Asherah, Asherah. That's another, the pole. They used to put this pole up and they dance around it and stuff, like with streamers. Never heard that before. Beside it, and build a proper kind of altar to the Lord your God on top of its height. Using the wood of the Asherah pole that you cut down, offer the second bull as a burnt offering. So Gideon took 10 of his servants and did as the Lord told him. But because he was afraid of his family and the townspeople, he did it at night rather than in the daytime. He did it in secret. You see, right now, hold on a second. You need me?
No, you're good.
Okay, so right now, what's happening around us right now? You see, Baal worship required the sacrifice of your children as a blood sacrifice. That's why God hated it so much. Does that not sound familiar? These people are worshiping a God that requires child sacrifice. And see, Gideon did this in the nighttime rather than deal with the people. He did it in secret. Does that not sound familiar to you? So in the morning, when the people of the town got up and there was Baal's altar demolished and the Asherah pole beside it cut down and the second bull sacrificed on a newly built altar, they were a little upset. And they asked each other, "Who did this?" Put fences up all around the Capitol and started blocking things off and called in the National Guard. When they carefully investigated, they were told that Gideon, the son of Joash, I think that's how you say his name, Joash, I don't know, Joash. I call him Joe. Huh. Interesting. Did it. The people of town demanded of Joe, bring your son out. He must die because he's broken down Baal's altar and cut down the Asherah pole. He stopped us from worshiping our gods. He stopped us from doing the things that we want to do. The last 4 years have been terrible for us. They didn't really like this guy, Gideon, because he was messing up their plans. He was messing up their way of life. He was destroying their system of things. Sounds vaguely familiar to what's going on today. Does it not? Find that stuff interesting. But there's more, actually, to this story. I will skip a little bit, jump ahead. And the Midianites had invaded Israel. They come in with like 100,000 people. They said the camels were so many, they couldn't be counted. And what they would do is they would come in with their camels and their goats and all this stuff after the Israelites had planted their crops. And they'd bring them into the fields, they'd set up their camps, and they would trample the ground and destroy the crops for two reasons. One, they get to feed their goats. And two, they get to not feed the Israelites, to keep them poor. That was their plan. They wanted to steal everything from them, keep them down, keep them down by the man. It's kind of like taxing them or something. I don't know. So God told Gideon, get together. We're going to go do something about this. So here's where we pick up. We pick up the story. Early in the morning, Gideon and all of his men camped at the spring of Harod, and the camp of Midian was north of them in the valley near the hill of Morah. The Lord said to Gideon, you have too many men. He had about 30,000 men. They had 100,000 men plus. He said, you have too many men. I cannot deliver Midian into their hands, or Israel would boast against me. My own strength saved me. Now announce to the army, anyone who trembles with fear may turn back and leave Mount Gilead. So 22,000 men left, while 10,000 remained. How many of you are trembling in fear? How many of you have given up? How many of you are saying there's just no way? It's not going to happen. We're stuck where we're at. We're stuck with these turkeys. But the Lord said to Gideon, there's still too many men. Take them down to the water, and I will thin them out for you there. If I say this one shall go with you, he shall go with you. But if I say this one shall not go with you, he shall not go. So Gideon took the men down to the water, and the Lord told him, separate those who lap the water with their tongues as a dog laps from those who kneel down to drink. 300 of them drank from the cupped hands, lapping like dogs. The rest got down on their knees and drank. The Lord said to Gideon, with these 300 men that lapped, I will save you from the Midianites and give the Midianites into your hands. Let all the others go home. So Gideon sent the rest of the Israelites home, but kept the 300 who took over provisions and trumpets of the others. Gideon arrived I jumped ahead there. Now I got a little too far ahead. So what happened? They got together, and Gideon asked the test with the fleece. He laid the fleece out and said, make the fleece damp, but the ground dry. And then God did that. The next day, he said, let me test you one more time. Make the fleece dry and the ground wet. He did that. So that he said, make sure that's what he wanted, right? And God said, look, what I want you to do, if you're still doubting, I want you to sneak up to the camp. I want you to look at the camp. I want you to flip over. I'm going to give you some messages from. I'm going to give you some drops, so to speak, some hints, like 17 or something. I'm going to give you some ideas of what's going on, what's about to happen, so that you'll know. Okay? So Gideon snuck up to the camps, and he got real close in so he could listen to what was going on. And this is what happened. Gideon arrived just as a man was telling his friend his dream. I had a dream, he was saying. A loaf of barley came barley bread came tumbling into the Midianite camp and struck a tent with such force that the tent turned over and collapsed. His friend, it's always the friend with the negative attitude. This could be nothing other than the sword of Gideon, son of Joasa, son of Joe, the Israelites. God has given the Midianites and the whole camp into his hands. That's what the Midianite people were saying. So they were scared to death that they started putting up fences and calling in the National Guard and putting airplanes in the air. And Nancy Pelosi was saying, we need crew serve weapons. And it was, yeah, you get the point. So Gideon went back, got his people together, and he divided his camp into dividing the 300 men into companies. 3 companies. He placed trumpets and empty jars in the hands of all of them with torches inside. And he said, watch me. Follow my lead. When I get to the edge of the camp, do exactly what I do. And when I and all who are with me blow their trumpets, then from all around the camp blow yours and shout, for the Lord and for Gideon. Gideon and 100 men with him reached the edge of the camp, and at the beginning of the middle of the watch, in the middle of the night, when no one was expecting. It wasn't on the 4th. It wasn't on the 20th. It wasn't on the 6th. It wasn't on the 21st. It wasn't on whatever day. It was in the middle of the night. No one was expecting. In the middle of the watch, just after they had changed guards, they blew their trumpets and sounded how's that go again? They blew their trumpets and sounded the emergency broadcast system. It doesn't say that. They blew their trumpets and broke the jars that were in their hands. And the 3 companies blew the trumpets and smashed their jars, grasping their torches in their left hand and holding their trumpets in their right hands. And they blew and they shouted, a sword for the Lord and for Gideon. And while each man held his position around the camp, all the Midianites ran, crying out as they fled. They were in such a panic. They freaked out. There's like, oh no, our dreams are coming. Our nightmares are coming true. Trump's coming to get us. And they started cutting each other down with their own. They were killing each other. Gideon chased them, called out, sent runners to the other Israelites, and they cut them off at the Jordan River. They slaughtered all but about 15,000 of them. Then he went and they ran off and they captured the 15,000, killed them all, captured the kings, and cut them down too. Utterly destroying the enemies of God. Just saying, I found that to be a parallel. Maybe not exactly, but in the mindset of what's going on. As I'm scrolling through, seeing what's on here. I don't know if you guys have any comments or anything, but that's where we're at right now. We're sitting here, we're waiting for God to do something. We're waiting for something to happen. And everything that's happening is in the middle of the night. These Baal worshipers. And if you look into it, the God that they worship is the same. He's been around a long time, different names. We are God's special forces. Where we go, when we go all. That's right. God's got this. We are definitely in control. Maybe not us, but God. I don't know if there's a Q thing. I don't know. I know Kim Clement in his prophecy timeline, the next thing is a Snowden. So there's going to be much fear in the Democrat Party and the Republicans will be shaken. Oh, parents parading their toddlers around telling folks they are gay before they can talk. That's right. That is insane. How people, what are they thinking? Our children can't you can't give your child an aspirin to take to school, but they can be gay. They don't even know. It's the parent. It's the new in vogue thing for parents to do. It's kind of like a purse or a new puppy or something. Snakes crawl at night. Yes, they do. So you guys have any thoughts, questions? Come on now. I didn't set stuff up, so I don't have anything for you all because I knew that we were going to be here working on the internet, and I didn't want to get interrupted. So I did have that little bit thought up in my mind. So I was having a conversation this morning on Messenger with some friends of mine, and they were concerned that nothing was happening, and they were concerned. But the election was lost or stolen. It's over. No one did anything. It's done. That was basically their attitude. I pointed out that a good chess player, and I'm in no way a good chess player. One of the things that I do when I play chess is you got to think future play. You can't think next move. You have to think next 5 moves, 10 moves. The further you can think ahead, the further you can play out that board, the better you are. And one of the things that I would do is I would use my bishops to draw out their knights, which give me advantage later in the game. And the reason for that is the bishop's going to be diagonal, but the knights are pretty powerful deal. And if I could take their knights out by sacrificing the bishop, I'd do it all day long. And so I would do that. And it would be pretty quick. I'd be bam, 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 just like that. And it would set some motion in their mind. See, now they're going, what's going on? This guy's just nuts. He's sacrificing pieces too quick. Now, a really good chess player would whoop my butt doing that. I'm just saying, because I've had my butt whooped. But an average chess player, I'd take him out every time. At least the first time I played him. So when it looks like I'm losing, I'm not. It's intentional. I'm setting them up for later. Another example that I used in this conversation I had with them was that a pincer movement is a German. I mean, they didn't invent it, so to speak, but they sure used it. That was a main tactic of the German military during World War II. And what they would do is they would draw the enemy forward so that they could surround the enemy on the flanks and cut them off from resupply and everything else, and then crush them. So the enemy would think that they were winning when really they were just being set up. And it would create a false sense of winning, a false sense of advantage to the enemy when the Germans' massive, rapidly deployed tank units were coming around the backside. You got to think about World War II. At the beginning of World War II, most armies still used horses. So this was a really new, massive concept at the time. We let the enemy straight in the front door. That was some of 17's drops. We're letting the enemy in. See, Donald Trump knew the cheat. He knew all about it. He predicted. He said it was going to happen several times, that they're going to steal this election. They're going to steal this election. They're going to steal this election. And so, why didn't he do anything about it when he could have? When he was president? There's some rumbling and stuff in the media right now about the Durham report. I put some of that on my Telegraph page. You might check that out. There's some other stuff that's rumbling and bubbling here and there. Have you guys seen the new South Park video? Shove some red pills down people's mouths. You see, humor is a great way to get people to pay attention. Someone says, do you watch Citizen Journalist? Yes, I do. What's up with the helicopters at the White House? And the lights are out at the White House at night. Know anything about that? I see it just like you do. I don't know what it means. I don't know if there's anything going on. There's a whole lot that seems pretty sketchy to me. All I have is, I don't have any proof. I can't prove to you whether Biden's in the White House or not, but it seems awfully odd. Let me ask you this. How many times have you seen, when Donald Trump was president, him walking across the Rose Garden to get onto Marine One? And the media is out there, Mr. President, I have a question, Mr. President, right? And he, would wave or maybe stop and say a few words, and then he'd get on the helicopter and they'd fly away. How many times have you seen that with Trump? How many times have you seen that with Biden? Once in the last 50 days at all? Isn't that weird? I don't know the answer to your question, but I do observe what you're talking about. This is an excellent question, David. Do you believe God has this alone? Yes. Do you think God wants us to do something? What can you do? If God has particularly called you to do something, then do it. And that may be something different than what the next person is. We can pray. We can have faith. We can trust in God. And if we have an opportunity to do something, but really, what can you do? I'm going to be doing interviews as soon as my internet's up, which may be later today. Locally, we have early April, we have municipal elections here, and we have the health board is coming. You know, our health board here in Pettis County has not had election for years and years and years and years. Like in the 80s, the last time they had election. Why? Because there's a little quirk in the rules that said if you're running unopposed, you don't have to go on the ballot. So they would get out there and quietly, like if somebody was going to resign or retire, they would step down without any fanfare, and they would quietly put the person, or they would step down and then assign somebody the seat because in the middle of the year, quietly, without a lot of fanfare, to say, oh, this person's going to fulfill that position. And then that person would run as an incumbent and just be on the ballot, but there was nobody running against them, so there's no need for an election. And that's the way they manipulated the system for years and years and years. Well, guess what? There's 3 seats out of 5 on the board this time around, and there's a bunch of good people running. I'm going to do some interviews of them. Also, our school board, we're doing the same thing. We're actively trying to put freedom-thinking people on the school board. So what can you do? Well, start local. Start local. Let's see here. Any comments on last night's speech? Come on, man. I don't know. Last night's speech was just a bunch of malarkey. That's one of his words, by the way. He just tried to take credit for everything Trump did. Now, I'm not all in favor of vaccines, but there you go. This one says, do you think Cuomo will be the new Snowden? No, I do not. Not big enough. I think the Snowden is not, in my personal opinion, my guess is that Snowden represents information and not a person. I think there's going to be a massive drop of information. Let's see here. Another one asking the speech to that. Yeah, I mean, it was boring. Teleprompter. Did he have a mask on? Was it CGI? Go to my Facebook page and watch the video I posted about just go watch that video. You'll see what I'm talking about. Do you believe God has this alone? Do you think God wants to do something? I read that one. Okay. Has there been a State of the Union address? That's what Tara Sleeper wants to know. No, Tara, there has not. Has not been a State of the Union. There has not been. See, it's constitutionally mandated that the President of the United States give a State of the Union every year. It does not have to be a speech. It could be a letter. It could be written. But that hasn't happened either. It didn't happen when Trump was president after the first, and it hasn't happened with Biden. And it's supposed to happen by the end of February every year. Constitutionally mandated, but it has not happened. And that means an official. That doesn't mean that Trump's speech down at CPAC, that doesn't count. Biden's speech last night doesn't count. It has to be an official State of the Union. It has not happened. Do you know why there's a full-size White House that Tyler Perry made? No. There's also a full-size White House at the Universal Studios. There's also a full-size White House at a military base in Texas. And I don't have the answer to that question. I do not know why. Oops, that jumped way too fast. I totally missed that one. Wow. Sorry. It wasn't a speech, it was more like a medical report. That's true. The president. Why is the President Trump pushing the vaccines and it's dangerous? Okay, this is a very good question, and I agree with you in asking the question. But understand that according to the QAnon conspiracy, no such thing as QAnon, there's Q and there's Anons. According to the Anons, that when he talks about Operation Warp Speed, it has a dual meaning. There are other things going on here. When he's talking about the invisible disease, he may not be talking about the China virus. He may be talking about the deep state. So you got to understand that there's dual meaning in a lot of what he's saying. A lot of stuff that's happening is cryptic. There's messages and meanings in a lot of this. Oh, you're a conspiracy theorist. Well, you know what? Coincidences, you know. How many coincidences do you need before you're like, wow, you know, we are in the Matrix? Now, here's a good one. It doesn't matter how much information comes out, how much evidence, nobody's going to jail. Rats don't convict rats. Nobody's held accountable. You are absolutely right up to this point. But here's the deal. If a massive amount of information turns the American people, understand that this isn't going to be a man-made thing, that this is a God-made thing. That's the difference. That's where the whole thing changes. It's just like in that story of Gideon I read there at the beginning. They were slaughtering each other. Gideon's men didn't do anything at the beginning. They just picked up the pieces. Blunt isn't running for re-election. Amen, brother. Thank you for that one. I'm glad that sucker's gone. Maybe we get somebody good in there. Yes, there is a couple reports of a couple different whistleblowers that are out there. And there's a couple different guys singing in a couple different areas to save their own bacon. Let me tell you something. This is like the dam that bursts. Once one guy starts singing, and the rest of them start singing because they know the jig is up and they want to cover for themselves. These people all have no allegiance but to themselves. And when the stuff starts coming down, you're going to see a whole lot of people squealing like little pigs, telling everything they got. It's going to be interesting. Let's see. Yes, as you received in the White House in a while, and don't trust the government. Absolutely don't trust government. Don't trust anybody. Don't trust me. Look for yourself. I'm going to put this up here because did you see all the Dan, because I can't say his last name, Scavito tweets yesterday? Did you all see them? What do they mean? Have you looked into it? There's a lot to that. And I'm not fully comprehending. I let some other people figure that all out, and I read what they say. But dates are important. Times are important. Subject matter is important. They all lead to things. Coincidentally, it's interesting what's going on. The Democrats are here. The Democrats are pushing to the elimination of the Constitution. They've already eliminated the Constitution, hence the flag in my background. The Constitution is dead. First of all, the Democrats don't believe in God. Your rights are endowed by a creator. So if you don't believe in a creator, where do your rights come from? Because your rights are endowed by a creator, and among these are life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness. Among these are everything else. Our Constitution, our original Constitution, was written by the several states, these United States. It was created by these United States to set up a singular government in the federal with limited powers to take care of the welfare of the country and national defense. Okay? But that Constitution is gone. Now we have the United States, meaning singular, means all power is in the, which means the states are no longer sovereign. Our Constitution is gone. I hate to break it to you. You have no rights. The only rights you have are those that they decide to give you. Trust no man, trust God. That's right. We nominate Mike Cook for Senate. No, thank you. I don't want the job. They probably wouldn't like me very much. Eric Greitens. I'll take Eric Greitens. Absolutely 100%. I'll go with that guy. Is the military feuding among themselves? No. It's not. What I believe you have is you have a segment of the military that's completely under the control of patriots. And you have a segment of the bureaucracy of the military that's always been, even under Trump, under control of the deep state. The patriot-controlled military has been around since JFK or longer. That's where you get 17 from. Let's see here. What's this one? It says they're saying don't travel. So now with the gas already up 70 cents and still headed upward, the elites will be the only ones that will be able to afford travel. Well, yeah, they're going to tell you they can't travel even if you have the vaccine. They don't want you traveling. I mean, that's just part of control. They don't want you moving around. They don't want you free to move around. They don't want you free to move out from their oppressive socialist states like California and New York and move out to a free state like Missouri or a free state like Florida where it's warm. You don't have to worry about snow because, well, frankly, they need you to pay taxes. It says, why is there no press on Kamala? What is she doing? We are so focused on Joe and not paying attention to Kamala. Yeah, that's classic. Look over here, not over there. Kamala's taking all the phone calls from the foreign. She's pretty much running the government, and she's probably writing the executive orders. He's just signing them. You don't have Twitter, you probably should, not because you should be on it doing things, but because there is information on there that you can glean. It's the only reason. This one says, have you ever seen a video of Biden giving a speech where it looks like he's wearing a Mrs. Doubtfire mask? It looks like his neck is separating from his shirt. It's not just him. There's several of them. I actually have several videos like that. What does that mean? I don't know. Does it mean he has a mask on? Does it mean CGI? Does it mean something else? Does it mean he just got a fat neck that day? Is it tied too tight? I don't know. Is it weird shadows? I don't know. But it is kind of weird. And it was creepy, for sure. Let's see. Oh, here's one from my beautiful wife. See, that's me in the picture down there with her. She makes me look good. Did you see Omar wants to pass a bill, no rent or mortgages until next year? Well, it won't kill the FDIC because they'll just, pass a bill and fund it. It's not a big deal. That's government. You can't kill the government that way. They don't need money. They can just print it. But no rent or mortgages next year will kill everybody else. Boy, all the private little guys that have a couple rental units or something like that, it would destroy everything. It would destroy the economy. That's just nuts. These people are crazy. How could you do that? Well, why don't we just nationalize everything and then the government can pay for it all? It'll be great. Will Trump bring back the Constitution? That is a great question. A very good question. Will Trump bring back the Constitution? What's the difference between these United States and the United States? Answer that question. You might have your answer. The military be ordered to reinstate their commitment to we the people under God. Maybe so. I don't know. These people seem to have more of a connection than I do. I do listen sometimes to John O'Sullivan. I don't know. Don't know. What can we do to take our country back? What can you do? I mean, we could rise up. Literally, we could rise up, start a civil war, but that's what they want, because then they could take over like a strong man. Chaos is what they need to create their system. Start local. Run for office. Do your part. Be a voice. Speak out. Convince your neighbor that to take a red pill. Look, I think we're almost to the point where those that are going to wake up voluntarily are already woke up, and the rest of them are just going to have to face the shock when it comes. I think that's where we're at. So what can you do to take your country back? Be vigilant, be prepared, make sure that you and your family are taken care of, and pray. I mean, turn it over to God. That's really, I don't have a better answer for it. I wish I did. I wish there was some kind of magic I could give you. It doesn't make sense that people continue to wear masks and keep things closed down while all the immigrants are crossing the border. No, that's part of the plan. You see, you have to shut up and get in line and get your vaccine. And besides, we need jobs for all them guys to come across the border. So we'll take yours while you're hiding in your basement. This one says 30% of the generals. This is what John O'Sullivan said. Okay, maybe so, but 30% really don't matter. It don't take much, really. And who does the regular individuals follow? That's really where it goes. And what's really going to happen when this finally does happen? I mean, look, we got a choice right now. We got a choice. Our fiat monetary system is going to crash sooner rather than later. It's a worldwide fiat system. Up until about a couple of weeks ago, there were no precious metal backed or anything backed currencies on the planet. They were all fiat, every one of them. Fake currencies. And they're all controlled by the same central bank system. Somebody's getting rich, let me tell you. Gaddafi, when he was taken out by Obama and by Clinton, was not because of the Arab Spring, was not because he was a terrorist, because he'd already renounced that, and he was playing on our side. It was not because he was a bad guy. I'll tell you what it was. It wasn't the guns. It wasn't the oil. Oh, we wanted to take their oil. No, it wasn't. Gaddafi was selling his oil for gold. The only way he could pay him. He had to cash your dollars into gold and buy the oil. He had the sweetest, best oil in the world. Okay. He was taking that gold, and with a coalition of Northern African states, they were going to create an African currency based on gold. Let me tell you what would have happened if he succeeded in doing that. It would have destroyed any fiat currency, destroyed it across the planet. All currencies would immediately become defunct, and everybody be clamoring for that currency because it was real. You see, fiat currencies collapse. And one of the last stages of a collapsing fiat currency is that the government, the controlling body of that fiat currency, infuses massive amounts of cash into the economy. They just start printing it like crazy to try to keep it going. And that's a death spiral because the printing causes inflation, which causes more crash, which causes more printing, which causes inflation, which causes more crash. And next thing you know, you're like Zimbabwe, who a few years ago said that they're going to cash in, they're going to get rid of the Zimbabwe dollar, and they're going to give you American currency to replace it. And for every $4 quadrillion you have in Zimbabwe currency, they're going to give you $5 American. What a sweet deal. But you say, Mike, we're not collapsing. Let me tell you something, friends. They just spent in the neighborhood of $25 trillion in the last year in so-called bailouts for this China virus. Oh, you need me?
I am so sorry.
You're cool.
Do you have a power strip, another power strip?
Ooh.
Because frankly, I can't fit everything I need on that one without unplugging.
I'm just about, give me about 10 minutes,
Okay.
give 5 minutes, I'll be done,
That's fine.
and I'll find something.
Thank you.
Sorry about that, folks. I got to finish this up pretty quick. So where was I? Oh, yes. Okay. Collapsing fiat currencies. Did you know that a couple weeks ago, Russia switched the ruble from a fiat currency to a value-based, backed by precious metal currency? The difference between Putin and Gaddafi is Putin has nukes, so the deep state just can't go in and take him out. That's right. The fiat currency is now going to collapse. The dollar is going to collapse. The euro is going to collapse. The yen is going to collapse. There's nothing you could do about it. If that currency stands, it's over. Game over. It's done. We are going to have a reset, whether it is the Bill Gates, George Soros, Davos, Barack Obama reset, or the Trump-Sarah reset is the question that you have to ask. So with that, guys, I need to jump off here and get the high-speed internet. I might try to come live this evening if it all works out. Don't know. Remember to share this video because you're the only guys that can, because Facebook shuts me down. Just catch me on the Rumble, catch me on the YouTube, catch me on the Telegraph. I do appreciate everybody being on here. Sorry I didn't get to all your questions, but I got to cut this short. You guys have a great day, and I will talk to y'all later.